Hey everyone, and welcome to Citizen Science Adventures. My name is Chris Goforth, and I'm the head of Citizen Science at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences in Raleigh. And I'm here in my backyard to share a way that you can get involved in citizen science projects, research that can be done right at your own home. Hey everyone, and welcome to Citizen Science Adventures. My name is Chris Goforth, and I'm the head of Citizen Science at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences in Raleigh. And I'm here in my backyard to share a way that you can get involved in citizen science projects, research that can be done right at your own home. Citizen science projects are ones that partner the public and professional researchers to answer interesting scientific questions. And many of these projects cannot be done without help from people just like you. This week, we're going to participate in a project called Firefly Watch, which is a really great one if you love fireflies. If you like watching fireflies at night, if you love watching them light up, collecting them in jars and then releasing them, this is a great project for you to get involved in. Firefly Watch is looking to answer some basic scientific questions. They want to know which species of fireflies are active where. They want to know how many of those fireflies are out in the landscape. They're also interested in how our populations of fireflies are changing over time. Many of our firefly species aren't doing quite as well as they have in the past. And so by studying them, we can learn more about them, where they live, and direct conservation efforts to areas that need help. To participate in Firefly Watch, all you're going to do is make 10-second observations, 3 of those, over a 10-minute period. They would like you to do this once a week during the firefly season. So it's a great time to get started in this project. The observations are very simple. You are reporting how many fireflies you see flashing in that 10-second period and how many different types of flash patterns you see. Then you report your observations to Firefly Watch, and that's it. Really, really simple project to participate in. It's only a few minutes of your time once a week. To participate in Firefly Watch, all you're going to do is make 10-second observations, 3 of those, over a 10-minute period. They would like you to do this once a week during the firefly season. So it's a great time to get started in this project. The observations are very simple. You are reporting how many fireflies you see flashing in that 10-second period and how many different types of flash patterns you see. Then you report your observations to Firefly Watch, and that's it. Really, really simple project to participate in. It's only a few minutes of your time once a week. This video will cover an introduction to fireflies, how to collect the data for Firefly Watch, how to enter the data for Firefly Watch, and some of the things to look for as you look for fireflies in the first place and collect your data. So come along with me this week on this excellent citizen science adventure that focuses on fireflies. To participate in Firefly Watch, you're going to need to go outside and find fireflies. However, if you don't find fireflies, that's okay. Go ahead and enter your data. It's just as important for the scientists at Firefly Watch to know where there are no fireflies active as where they are active. If you want to have the best chances to see fireflies in your yard, though, there's a few things to keep in mind. The first is that fireflies are animals that use light to communicate with each other, which means they need it to be dark enough they can see that light. Fireflies are most active at dusk, which is the time between when the sun goes down and when it gets completely dark. Look during dusk if you want to have the best chances of actually seeing some fireflies in your yard. Note also, the fireflies start off flying pretty close to the ground, while it's still a little bit lighter in the evening. As it gets darker, they're going to move higher and higher up. There might be a point where you have to look above your head to see the fireflies flashing. Fireflies also like open areas. Because they're using light to communicate, they need to be able to see each other, and they don't like a lot of obstacles. Look over lawns, over gardens, in big gaps between trees and forested areas, and you are going to have the best opportunities to see fireflies in your yard. The last thing to keep in mind is that pesticides tend to be a problem for a lot of fireflies, and in fact might be one of the main factors that influence how many fireflies are living in an area. Try to limit your pesticide usage as much as you can in your yard to encourage fireflies to use your space. If you do have pesticides in your yard, that doesn't necessarily mean that you won't have any fireflies. It's still worth looking. But if you can limit your pesticide usage, you're probably going to invite more fireflies to your yard than if you have a lot of pesticides. So, look at dusk, look close to the ground while it's a little bit lighter and higher up as it gets darker. Look in open areas and try to limit your pesticide use, and you'll have the best chances to see fireflies in your yard. Firefly Watch has a printable data sheet that's available on their website, and I would really encourage you to at least download it and look at it so that you know what kinds of information that they are going to want you to enter into your observation on their website. Let's go ahead and take a look at this to see what they want. The first thing is going to be the observation date, so write down the date that you made your observations. It wants to know what kind of habitat type you're in, whether you're in a mown lawn is probably going to be the most common in a neighborhood, but open fields, forest, pavement are also options. It wants to know if there has been mowing in the area during this firefly season. Record the temperature in Fahrenheit. It wants to know what kind of precipitation and wind and cloud cover there are in the area at the time of your observations as well. The next question is going to ask about artificial light sources, whether there are any in the area, and if so, whether they're visible in the habitat, near the habitat, or far from the habitat. You'll record the observation start time, so the time that you started making your observations. Then you're going to record your firefly information. You are going to record 3 10-second observations on the data sheet. You're going to want to stand in the same place for all of them. For each of these entries, entry 1, entry 2, and entry 3, you're going to check off one option that says how many total fireflies you saw flashing during that time period. So during that 10-second time period, if you see 12 flashes, you're going to check the 11 to 25 box. You're going to do that 3 times over a 10-minute period. So 30 seconds is all of your observation time, and you're going to want to do those within a 10-minute period. It also wants to know how many different types of flash patterns you see. And we'll talk about that here in just a moment in a little bit more detail. You're going to report how many you saw, so whether there's 1, 2, more than 2, or not sure. And you're going to want to report how many, or what the most common flash pattern observed was, whether single, double, triple, other, or not known. The last thing they want to know is what time you entered your observations. Once you have all this data, you can enter it into the website. Fireflies are so well known because of their bioluminescence, the light patterns that they flash at each other. This is the way that fireflies communicate with each other, and they in fact use it to find mates. The males fly and flash a particular pattern that's specific to their species. The females sit in vegetation, on plants, on trees, and when they see a male flash, they will flash back another type of pattern to let them know that they've seen them. In this way, they're able to talk to each other over large areas and find mates. One of the things that Firefly Watch is going to ask you to do is count how many types of firefly flash patterns that you see. Let's take a look at this chart available through Firefly Watch to see what some of the options look like. Take a look first at Photinus pyralis in the middle of the chart. You see that kind of J-shaped pattern there. Photinus pyralis flashes once every 6 seconds and has this kind of J-shaped flash pattern. The way this works is the male is flying, he'll light his abdomen, and then he'll dip down and fly upwards. So you will see a yellow-green J in the landscape. They flash single flashes, so they are flashing once, and then there's a gap, and then another flash. And they flash approximately 6 seconds apart. If you take a look at Photinus ignitus at the top, this is a very different kind of pattern. They flash once quickly every 5 seconds. And so they also have single flashes, but they're not doing any sort of shape, and they have a really quick flash compared to Photinus pyralis, which has a nearly 1 second long flash. Down at the bottom, you see Photinus carolinus. This is one that has multiple flashes, and so it flashes 6 times very quickly, and then there's a big gap in time between those 6 little flashes. You don't need to know the exact species, you just need to know that one flash pattern is different from another. So take a look at the color, the distance between the flashes, whether you see a single flash, a double flash, or multiple flash, and all of these will give you clues to tell you how many different types of flash patterns you see. Another thing to look for as you try to determine how many different types of flash patterns you see is to look at the color of the flashes. There are really three main genera of fireflies that you are likely to see in North Carolina. There are others, but there's three that people see regularly. The one that you see now is photinus. This one tends to have a yellow-green flash, and so you will see a kind of yellowy green, frequently that J shape, but other types of patterns as well, but they tend to be yellow-green. This is photurus, and this group of fireflies in the genus Photurus has a very bright green, so a really grassy green, real green, compared to the Photinus, which has that yellow green. The last one is Pyractomina, and this one has a kind of reddish orangey flash pattern. It looks like a fire ember floating through the sky, and so it's a very different kind of flash pattern than a lot of people expect. This is another type of firefly, though, so if you see that kind of ambery colored light, definitely mark that down as a different type of flash pattern because you've probably seen Pyractomina. Now that we know how to collect the data and what kind of information that Firefly Watch wants when you are making your observations, let me walk you through 3 observations that I made a few nights ago so that you can see how this process actually works. This is entry 1. There's a flash. And there's a second flash. This was actually the same firefly both times, and it was a single flash pattern of the same type, so I will report this as one firefly and one flash pattern. This is entry 2. There's a flash. There's the second flash. So that was another quick 10-second snippet. That was, again, one single firefly and one flash pattern, so that's what I will report for entry number 2. All right, here's entry 3. 1. There's 2 right at the end. So again, one individual firefly, one flash pattern. So for all 3 entries, each of these was right about 10 seconds, I will report one firefly and one flash pattern. Now let's take a look at the data entry and how to actually input your data into the Firefly Watch website. Once you have collected your data for Firefly Watch, you need to enter it into their website. You will need to create an account on the Mass Audubon Firefly Watch page, and you will need to create a location before you can participate. Once you've done that, you can go into the Firefly Watch page and click on Submit Observations. It will ask you to choose a location. So I'm going to go ahead and click My Locations. And it will give you the options that you have created in your account so far. So I have Prairie Ridge Eco Station as one. I also have my home as Grove. And so I'm going to go ahead and enter a data point for Grove by clicking Edit. I'm going to click Add Observation, and it will bring me to the form where I can fill out my information. So let me enter in what I had. So the first thing was it was on May 28th, and I'm going to click Next. I was in a mown lawn, so choosing that, clicking Next. This area has been mowed this firefly season. It was 75 degrees, the date that I collected my data. It was not raining. There was a slight breeze. It was overcast. There was a light near the habitat. So there was a street light at the same home, but it was not in the space where the fireflies were, so they could definitely see it. It was visible and it was nearby, but it wasn't exactly in the habitat. My observation time was 8:45 p.m. Then it wants to know my 3-second observation data. So for my first entry, I saw one firefly. For the second entry, I saw one firefly. And for the third entry, I saw one firefly. I saw one flash pattern. So I saw that single flash each time. The most common flash pattern that I saw was a single. So I'm going to report that and click next. It wants to know when I ended my data collection, which was 8:55. And clicking next. You have the option to enter in field notes. If you want to report anything else that you saw, you are welcome to do that. If you want to report like neighbors spraying pesticides, or that something has happened in your yard, or it is actively raining very hard, there are all kinds of things that you might put in the field notes that might help the researchers at Firefly Watch learn a little bit more about why you saw what you saw. You don't have to put in field notes, but if you have anything you want to include, you're certainly welcome to do so. And then I'm going to click next, and I have all of my data reported back to me here, so I can check this over, make sure everything looks good, and then I'm going to click submit. And that's it. I've submitted my observation from my yard to Firefly Watch. All right, we have collected and submitted data to Firefly Watch, and that's all you have to do. You just make 3 10-second observations over a 10-minute chunk of time once a week when the fireflies are active anywhere in North Carolina, and submit your data to Firefly Watch through their website. It's very easy to become a citizen scientist for this project. You just make some basic observations of fireflies, which hopefully you already love doing, because fireflies are amazing insects that you should want to get to know better. Your data is vitally important to the researchers who work on the Firefly Watch project. They are trying to learn more about where fireflies are active, how many individuals are still out there in the environment, and what kinds of environmental factors influence how many fireflies are in an area. Your data is very important for this. Data from yards like yours and mine are the only way that they can gather this information and do the important work that they're doing. We hope that you'll participate with us this week as we participate in Firefly Watch. If you have any sort of stories or questions or comments about this project that you would like to share with us, please leave them in the comments. We would love to hear from you. We really hope that you will enjoy exploring fireflies with us this week, or any time in the future. It doesn't have to be this week. And that you will join us in future weeks for additional citizen science adventures.
Hey students, it's been quite a spring. Enjoyed it very much. Wonderful students, been helpful, been attentive. I hope that you take the opportunity to use this activity and enrich your science experience this June during the firefly season. We're at the beginning of it now here in this area. You may not know it, they didn't mention it, but North Carolina has a unique species of firefly where all the individuals synchronize. This is in western North Carolina. So in our state, we have some unique fireflies in the entire world. I hope you'll link this back to your energy unit that we went through, and you can always refer to your text if you have any questions about how the firefly makes the light. And of course, that was a major part of our energy assignment earlier this spring. So thank you again. I really appreciate you being here. Here's what you do now. You've got your computer for another couple of days. I'm going to post this tonight. You'll see this video. It's an optional process. This is not graded. You don't have to turn anything in. You don't have to send anything to Firefly Watch. They are building a data set for the entire country, and North Carolina is one of their operational areas. And this whole process at Prairie Ridge is running through the museum in downtown Raleigh. Hopefully you'll get there in the future, and we can take students there in future science explorations. So look for your assignment / enrichment activity to come out later today, as soon as I can get this video processed and into your hands. Look forward to our next chance to work together. Take care. Have a great summer. Science on.